Welcome back to Olney On Air, where we talk about what's happening in Olney, Texas. Population 3,200. Who's doing what, what's changing, and what there is to do in our city. I'm Gina Keating, editor of the Olney Enterprise newspaper.
I'm Kimberly Smith, Executive Director of the Olney Chamber of Commerce. Each week, we take you inside the stories making headlines in Olney and Young County. We talk about what's in this week's newspaper, online, and on newsstands around town every Thursday. And we bring in guests to help explain the big issues, the exciting projects, and the people shaping the future of our community.
We also spotlight local businesses, nonprofits, schools, sports, events, and the people making small town life work. So let's start with this week's Olney Enterprise.
Once again, another busy news week with graduation week all over town and big changes at City Hall.
That's right. So as we talked about last week, the class of 2026 officially crossed the stage Friday night at Olney High School after a full week of graduation traditions and celebrations. And some of those included, of course, the graduation ceremony, but we had the baccalaureate ceremony at the First Baptist Church. We had the elementary school walkthrough where the seniors dressed in their cap and gowns and walked through the halls and high five all the kids.
Yes, it's so cool. I love it so much. That's one of the coolest things to see is these kids, for most of them, they went to that elementary school. So for them to walk through those same halls that they started in and where they're ending at, I just love it.
Yep. And also just showing the little kids what's coming.
What you're going for.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So anyway, graduation week is always one of my favorite editions of the year because you really get to see how much this community invests emotionally and financially in its kids.
We also highlight Olney athlete Haley Craven, who brought home a bronze medal at the UIL state track meet in the 400-meter race.
Yep.
If you didn't see her interview, please check it out. It was awesome. She did so good. And one of the cool things that she mentioned is that she was in 9th lane, which is a pretty bad position in that race, and she still managed to pull it out.
Thanks for doing us proud. Okay, so there were also major changes at City Hall this week. We touched on that a little bit last week, but we will have stories in the paper about Sammy Livingston and Colson Ballard being sworn in as our 2 new city council members. Mayor Rue Rogers is also beginning another term. He ran unopposed. This is going to be a big transition period for our city leadership because we also have Andy Wolf, our new city administrator, who started this week. I reached out to him to get him to come on the program, and so we'll have him on really soon. But one of the biggest stories in this week's paper was the retirement of City Attorney Bill Myers after 49 years of serving the city of Olney. I got to catch up with him for a conversation about his memories of serving on as city attorney. So read all about that in the story that I did. It's on the front page, and learn about what Dan Branham is stepping into.
Absolutely. Bill talked a lot about the cycles small towns go through, boom periods, difficult years, the rebuilding times. And it was a fascinating perspective from somebody who has seen nearly half a century of local history. So thank you, Gina, for talking to him.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting. Also, back on page 5, we talk about some other actions that the city council took. One of those is the council decided to charge a $25 fee for people who are renting the bounce houses with water, a new business that opened up this year and is going gangbusters. Everybody's having such a good time and putting those things in Tom Griffin Park that the city wanted to keep an eye on how much water is being used there.
Yeah, we got one at the house for my son's birthday, and they use a ton of water. You just don't even see it, and you don't even see it till the next bill. So you almost have to set a time limit. So I can only imagine for the city, it makes sense. And those things are so much fun, though. And especially with the Texas heat, when that water is on there, it makes it a little bit more bearable for the kids because those bounce houses get super, super hot. And so with the water, I think it really does help, to make them stay longer.
And you know what? And the council was just thrilled that people are using the park more. They want people to get out there and stay in that beautiful park. They spent a lot of money on it. Keep Olney Beautiful has spent money making it look beautiful. Last but not least on our rundown, although there is a lot more in the paper, we are getting a new daycare center.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we needed it so bad.
Yeah. So the Olney Economic Development Corporation had a board meeting last week or this week and agreed to let Executive Director Tom Parker proceed with negotiations to turn over the old Head Start building to this new operator. She has a daycare center in Graham, and she's already hired, I think, 5 people. But that, I think it's probably going to take a couple months to get that worked out. But yeah, she's hoping to open her doors very soon. The city will be investing some money to restore that building, so it'll be up to code and great for the kids. So yeah, that's very exciting. So you can read about that as well.
And that'll be such a draw for families moving here. I know that's been, for me as a parent, before we moved here, the first thing was hospital, clinic. It was daycare. When can we get into daycare? There's a lot of people right now that are even taking their kids all the way to Graham for daycare. And I just, unless you're working there, I could not imagine. That would just be a complete barrier for me if that was the case. The daycare here, they are great, but they can only take so many kids. So this will help ease that burden. Also, I think it'll be great. The daycare here in town, they are on the school's calendar.
Yeah.
So on certain breaks, like they take 2 weeks off in July. So even just having someone available for those times when the other daycares are closed, I think will be such an asset to our community.
Oh, big time. Yes. Also, one last little mention, and that is that the county commissioners have set hours now for the courthouse. I've heard some complaints for people that you're going over there trying to get documents and offices are closed. That will not be the state of affairs anymore because the commissioners have mandated that all the courthouse offices have to be open from 8 o'clock till 4:30 on weekdays. So that's good news, and that's also in the paper. So pick up a copy of the Enterprise or go online and read it. You will learn a lot about our community. Okay, so now we're going to move into an issue that affects more people in rural Texas than many realize, and that is food insecurity. Our guests today are Angela Lockard of the Olney Senior Cub Center and Valerie Mahler, who is a board member at the Senior Cub Center.
They're going to talk with us about the rising food insecurity in Young County, as well as the programs that they offer that urgently need support to continue serving our community.
Angela, Valerie, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, so we currently serve about 100 meals a day. That's for Congregate and Meals on Wheels. Both programs are struggling right now, but we're out there on the front lines just making sure people are getting fed and trying to hook them up with resources.
Okay, so, and just to let people know, you serve those at the Senior Center at noon 5 days a week, and Meals on Wheels is 5 days a week too.
Yes, on-site dining is at 12, and then Meals on Wheels are delivered by 11:30, 12 usually.
Okay.
And then the meals can also be anybody. I know I've gone there for lunch a few times, correct?
Yes, yeah. So for those who are over 60, the suggested contribution is $5 per meal. And for those who are under 60, it's a meal costs $7.
And they are excellent, I just have to say.
So thank
I
you.
love y'all's food.
And we publish the menu every week. When you want to go get the King Ranch chicken or the chicken and dumplings, which are my favorites, or the chicken fried steak.
Today's chicken fried steak
Oh,
day, guys.
I think I'm going to have to be there. Okay. And so, Valerie, you've been on the board for a pretty long time. What drew you to this mission?
Well, I really didn't know much about the Senior Cub Center until my very good friend Gay Lynn was on the board at the time in 2011. And I believe Dr. Moore had gotten sick and he went off the board. And so she asked me if I would fill in for him. And I did, and I've been there ever since. I just love it. I think the mission is vital to Olney. And the people we serve, they're always so grateful. And it is to me, it is something that I feel compelled to be a part of.
I mean, I was talking to Dr. Robert Farrow, who's one of our columnists. Yesterday, we ran into each other at the post office, and he was talking about his clients that he sees at the Heritage program, that is the mental health program for seniors here in Olney. It's run out of Olney Hamilton Hospital. Fantastic resource for people. And we'll have him on another time, but he was talking about how important the Senior Cub Center is and how he recommends it to people every single day because there is such a loneliness epidemic. And that is the solution, is going there and not just eating the meals, but also I saw you have lunch and a movie, which looks so fun. And then all of the activities that you do, dances, bingo. I'm teaching a class there next month. So you can do everything at the Senior Cub Center. And it's not just for seniors either. So it's a huge, important part of this community. So it really is concerning when you all are having problems with funding. So let's talk about that a little bit. So what's going on? What's the picture? We have 3.8% inflation was just announced, but it sounds like it's really affecting you in a big way.
Yes, absolutely. So currently right now we have 5 on the waiting list, with the longest wait being since November. And then I was running some of the numbers from pre-pandemic 2019. Food costs were $40,000. Fast forward 7 years later, and we're on schedule to spend double that nearly.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a great need for the programs and to fund the programs.
So you were telling us earlier that you had people who passed away and they're no longer on your list. What is that mechanism? Can you just put the next people on the Meals on Wheels?
We can't replace them, right?
Oh, yes. We can't replace those people who aren't participating right now.
Until the next fiscal year, right?
October 1st.
Oh
yes.
my gosh. So, but you do have need, right? It's not like they just fall off and there's nobody to take.
Oh, no, absolutely. We still, despite having those people drop off, we're still serving the same amount of meals. And because there's just constantly increasing need. We're given a certain number of clients at the beginning of the year that we can authorize. Authorize means that we are reimbursed whenever they participate in the program and programs. And so throughout the year, as they pass away or they get hospitalized, we are not able to add anyone to cover those. The meal number actually doesn't change because constantly we're seeing other people come in, and so per month we're down 1,000 to 1,500 in just those programs
In terms of dollars.
per month. Yes, in terms of dollars.
Because when the people don't show up, you can't get paid, but you can't fill the slot.
yes,
So I wonder
exactly.
whose great idea that was.
Yeah, and then we're also seeing complications with when we have 5 on a waiting list, but there are a lot more out there who aren't being served because of, like, when we do an intake with them, they have to meet a number criteria of, like, they have to reach 20 points in order to qualify.
So what would that be, like income and age? And
It's not based on income
Oh,
at all.
what is it
It's-
based on?
It's based on need. It's based on physical mobility. This is for Meals on Wheels, of
Okay,
course.
right.
But I'm not sure how to say this right, but basically they aren't answering the questions.
Is it because they don't want to admit that they're as disabled as they are?
Yes, they're ashamed.
Okay, yeah.
And so it takes a lot of investigating on our part, having to ask about, do you have a shower chair? Do you have rails in your shower? These kind of things, because we'll say, do you have any problems on a scale 0 to 3 with showering or grooming yourself? They'll say, no, I don't have any problems.
Right.
But they don't realize that they're already,
Right.
at a state, a 1 or a 2. And then so we go through those questions, we ask them those, but then the state calls them and goes through their set of questions, which I believe are very similar to ours. But once again, they don't answer correctly.
Yes. And correctly, it's not like you're trying to pull something over on people. It's just people here are really proud and they don't want to admit that they need help, but they do need help. So anybody listening to this, answer honestly. It's not a sin to want help. So anyway, let's go on with that. I just wanted people to know because these programs are here, and if we use them, we get money.
That's right.
We're here to let people know what our needs are. And if people don't know what we need, we're never going to get it met. So anyway, so let's talk about this some more, like what some of your other challenges are with enrollment. And Valerie was saying earlier that you never let anybody go hungry.
No.
No.
So how does that work when you don't have someone who's enrolled because they didn't qualify, quote unquote? How do you fund that? What do you do?
We just do. I remember a long time ago when Jerry was running the center, I remember her saying, we may not be funded, but we don't let them go hungry. And so we've just continued that. And that is one reason it's a perpetual need for funding at the Senior Cub Center. It will never go away because there's always people that need food and hunger. In our state, yes, we're thankful for what we do get paid in the government, but it cannot touch what our expenses are. And right now, our programs that Angela has and Stormy, they put on at the center, like the yoga and the crafts, all the crafts and the dances and the speakers they have. Like today, London's is coming. And it's wonderful. And these people need that community. And I can't tell you how many people have told me, I just love the center because it gets me out. I get dressed, I go somewhere, and I feel like I have a family.
Yeah.
That's what they've told me. Now, the ones at home, they love the delivery people. I'm telling you, they're very attached to the camps and to James. And then when we get to go, I love seeing the people too, and I get to know a little bit more about their situation. But I think it's a very good program in Olney, and I'm very proud of it. And I just think we're always going to need money, folks. We'll be out there soliciting no matter what.
Yeah, so we do have fundraisers throughout the year and to help supplement the funding aspect of the center. We've seen an influx of new clients over the past year.
What are their circumstances?
It's just a lot of them are on a fixed income. While Social Security increased by 3%, what was that, 2 years ago? The cost of fuel, cost of food, cost of utilities, medication, it's all up. And so one thing that we offer are a lot of resources. So if people are experiencing stuff like that, they can call us and we can kind of map out a plan for how to help them with medication and how to help them with fuel. We do have a local transportation system, and if it's outside of our area, then they can call us for help with extended trips.
And also, Angela, our meal cost has stayed the same. Where everything else has gone up, they can come in and it's still the same. It's affordable.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And for the meal that you get, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
And that's $6 if you're under 60.
Well, it's $7 if you're under 60 and $5 if you're over 60.
There you go. Yeah.
$25 per week for an individual, as opposed to if they were eating out, you'd be spending double or triple that.
Oh, at least. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a good portion of meals. And I think I think there will be an increasing need with the baby boomer generation. They're all getting older, they're retiring, they're realizing maybe they don't have as much as they thought they would, especially when you have this amount of money that's not stretching as far as you anticipated 10, 20 years ago when you're doing your 401ks and you're doing all these retirements. And so now you have this gap in sort of money and what you thought you could do and what you can't now. And it's really unfortunate that you said you have to wait till once a year to add people. So what happens is there any way for y'all to ask for assistance beforehand? Is that even possible?
What do you mean ask for assistance?
Like
before?
ask to add people before the October 1st.
So they will, when they authorize our clients, they anticipate that there's going to be clients who drop off. They only have enough money for a reduced amount of clients. And despite me calling, they say, we'll let you know if we get to a point where we have more in the budget that'll last for the remainder of the year, then they will authorize. But I haven't seen that done. And I don't believe last year that was done at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the people who need the Meals on Wheels, they're kind of out of luck, right?
Do our best to serve them even when there isn't funding available. As long as we have special funds from other places for that, but we don't always have the special funds. So during times like that, we do have to put them on specific programs or have them or a family member help pay for some of their meals while they're waiting to get on. Pay what they can pay. If they don't have the $5, pay $1, whatever. You can help contribute to it.
So you were talking about the need, the great need in terms of some people, that's the meal that they get for the whole day.
Yes. And so what I've heard is some of them are rationing out their one meal, their one lunch, and it's created on an RDI standard, nutrition standard, daily recommended intake, I think is what DRI stands for. But they're dividing it in half for lunch, half for dinner.
Yeah, that is just absolutely tragic. So let's talk about the Wichita Falls Food Bank. What do you do with them? Do you coordinate with them? Can you talk about that a little bit?
And supplementing food. We have the produce truck that comes on second Mondays and is parked on Hunt Street from 11 to 12. And people can pull up and they'll load their car up with what they have available. And then after 12, they can come into the center until 1 to also pick up supplemental food. We do send out snacks on our Meals on Wheels. We probably send about 150 on average a month, 150 snacks. And then
Does Wichita Falls Food Bank provide those?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also have Valerie and I take a trip to the food bank once a month, and that helps cover some of the cost of the food that we're feeding for the Meals on Wheels and congregate dining. And actually, I have that number here. We're getting 10,000 pounds per year, and that's valued at $16,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So can you imagine if we didn't have that, our food costs would be like almost $90,000.
Wow.
My gosh.
Yeah.
That is, it's just tragic, really. Okay, so I know they're doing a new capital campaign that they want to talk about. But what about y'all? Y'all said that you were going to be raising money this year. Were you doing it along with the Wichita Falls Area Food Bank, or are you doing some separate stuff? Or how can people give you money if that's what they want to do?
Yeah. Our next fundraiser coming up is the variety show.
Oh, right.
And That's July 18th. We've secured sponsorships from individuals and businesses here and in Wichita Falls and Graham. And the show is by donation, but the show also helps to raise awareness of the needs of the people that we are serving and of the needs at the center.
Is there a number that you're trying to raise, or what is it you're trying to get to that will make it so that all the need that we have in Olney is met?
I think it would be wonderful if some of the people would remember us in their estate.
Oh, yeah.
Endowments would really help us, and it could earn interest and keep providing for years and years to come. That would be an ultimate goal. Then we wouldn't have to keep fundraising all the time. If we could just have that in place, it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
As well as maybe monthly giving,
Sure,
setting like a
absolutely.
set amount. There's one thing that is certain, it's that people get older. There's no exception. Everybody gets older, and I think we have to remember that these people put in their time. They did what they were supposed to do, and now here it is at the end, and they're having to struggle. So even just, I would think maybe like a monthly giving would be so great to just every month just have it taken out, and this is the amount that you can afford. And that if you have so many, even if it's a little amount, if you have 4 people, 5 people, 10 people doing that same amount, it all of a sudden starts to add up. And
Yes.
it's super helpful to the program.
Sure.
And they can do that from our website too, www.olneyscc.org. A red donate button.
Yeah, it's very easy. You can also pay for your meal that way. So what misconceptions do people have about hunger in small towns? I know that's a weird question, but
So what we've heard people say they should go get a job, but the reason they qualify is because they can't work for one reason or another. And there's really limited resources in small towns. If you live in Wichita, there's a dozen or more options for going places to get supplemental food. And here we have the First United Methodist Church has a food pantry. They have it every Thursday, but you can go once a month to that. And then the First Baptist Church has a food pantry on Mondays. I think you can go every Monday on that one. And then, of course, what we're doing, how we partnered with the food bank on second Mondays.
I think a lot of families I've heard this too, why can't their family pay, or why can't they do that? And that's not always the case. Some people are estranged from their family and they don't have people that help them.
It's not only that, it's I have a family of 6, and so my grocery bill every month has doubled, at least doubled. And so when you're a family that's just in the trenches, as I call it, with young kids, and you have this, and you have for school, then you have this cost, and then this cost, they just keep coming up. You have insurance you're paying for. When all those costs are going up, it makes it to where the families, they're pushed to their limit on their own. So to ask the families, it's just hard. Everything's much harder now than it was even a year ago.
Absolutely. And I want to note here, I was doing some research on fuel costs, and 4 months ago, we were paying 30% less at the fuel pump.
wow.
And this time last year, we were paying 23% less.
That puts it all in perspective. Everything you do costs more money now.
And that affects you even if you don't have a car and not driving. It's the cost to get the food here and to get the things here. And it all culminates to be a massive issue, even if you're not driving all the time.
Yeah.
Even if you're not, you could just stay here, you do what they tell you to do. Don't buy coffee or don't buy this, but it doesn't matter because the cost reflects in the prices of everything.
Yeah,
That is right.
So what are the programs that are under the most strain for the Cub Center?
Definitely the on-site and Meals on Wheels.
Okay. All right. So is there a goal, like a dollar amount goal that y'all are going for this year to get you through until October when you get refunded?
If I were to throw a number out there, I would ideally say 10 to 15,000.
Okay. All right. We got what, 3 months to do that? To do that, that seems reasonable.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, we just asked the community to just come together and really stand by this program. Not only are they providing food for those in need, but they're also providing those programs for seniors to get out and to have that fellowship with just people they might not normally see. They don't see them. And so you have that opportunity for them to have a little bit of fun and light in their life, which I think is so important to the senior community.
And
I need no.
go ahead.
Another way that they can help give back, maybe if they don't have the finances, is we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. Anywhere from kitchen help to Meals on Wheels delivery or helpers with the arts and crafts, the activities, and also delivery coordination.
Great. Yes. Okay. So anything else that we didn't ask you about that you want to talk about?
I would like to interject how thankful we are for our community giving. We have a lot of people that have extended their money and their time for the Olney Senior Cub Center, and we're very thankful.
Yes.
And thank you, girls, for having us here.
Oh my gosh. So this is
To help
absolutely,
where we can.
yeah, this is a fantastic program and it touches every single bit of this community. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today, our featured business, our spotlighted business, is the Windmill Motel, owned by Jake Randall. And when we first moved here 6 years ago, when you would first get to Olney, first thing you would see when you drove into town was this hotel. And usually it was filled with maybe a little bit of sketchy people. And for the longest time, that hotel was an eyesore. It was somewhere that for us, like one time we had to stay overnight. We lost electric. It was like rolling blackouts. And the first thing you knew was do not stay at the Pipeliner. And so I just want to ask you, Jake, for you, how did you choose that hotel? That was a massive undertaking for any person, especially you had no background in hospitality. How did you choose the Pipeliner as your investment?
So it's funny, and most of these stories for me start with sentimental stories. And so my dad and I used to come out here and hunt all the time as a kid. And I was always into the agriculture and the outdoorsy things. And I grew up in South Lake in a bigger city. And so we would come out here. I was almost like living my childhood dream. I was exposed to all the ranching, all the small town community things. And so it always just held special memories for me coming to Olney. And when I was a kid, I always told my parents I was going to live somewhere in Young County, and they were like, this kid's lost his mind. We have no idea why. He lives in a great area. Why would he want to live there? And so I had my horse business for a while, and I was kind of looking for a change, and I had been researching the multifamily side of things for a long time. So apartments and condos and things like that, they seem to be a safe investment. One day I just get on realtor.com. I had a wild, crazy idea to sell my farms and reinvest into something else. And I started in the Jacksboro area and was looking all over the map at different places I could live at. And I just went a little further west, and I saw Olney on the map, and I was like, man, I loved spending time in Olney when I was growing up with my dad. My dad's passed away now, and so those memories hold a little bit, I don't know, deeper of a meaning to me. And so I got to Olney on the map, and I was like, man, that was a great place. I love meeting all those people, and I just remember traipsing around the woods with my dad. But again, the sentimental memories just kind of took over at that point. And that's the start of all these crazy ideas, really. But we got here, and I said, okay, before I move there, I want to go visit the Church of Christ, make sure that I've got a good, stable foundation of people that I can connect with, and would kind of make it feel like home. So we came out here one Sunday night and visited the church, and one of the elders said, "You looking for a ranch? I got a ranch for sale." And then I started looking around the town a little bit, and I was like, that hotel just caught my eye. I was like, look at that. it's you
That's
know.
like exactly the opposite reaction that other people had.
I was like, look, just think about what it could be. And then I started talking to people at church, and they were explaining the economy in town, that we have Air Tractor and Tower. And I'm like, there's really a lot of good stuff going on here.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And I said, this place is a diamond in the rough. And so that night I drove out and looked at the ranch, fell in love with it, and immediately was like, I got to buy it. But I couldn't. I had to get rid of my places that I had. So probably a week or two later, I drove back out here. I went and sat on my tailgate in front of that old little farmhouse out there and was like, I love it. Then I started driving around town a little bit. And again, I was like, man, that hotel just keeps catching my eye. So I walked into the lobby and it was extremely overwhelming. There was stuff. I mean, the walls were lined with stuff. The odor alone in there was overwhelming.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I was like, I was just imagining what the lobby could look like. So the guy that owned the place walked in there and I said, would you ever sell this place? And he goes, yeah, probably would. And he said, I'll think about it and I'll get back to you and let you know kind of what I'm thinking. And so he called me a week later and he said, I've got to have a certain amount for this place. And I was bracing for the worst. And he gave me a number that was very reasonable. And it took a few months to get the deal done. Actually, it probably took 6 to 8 months to get the deal done. But we finally got it done, and that was the start of the crazy journey.
Yeah. And so when you said what it could be, what did you think it could be in terms of just business, like who you wanted to host?
Right. So initially, because I'd studied the multifamily stuff, I was interested in that. So studio apartments, efficient living.
Right.
You know, people might not want to take care of work at one of the factories in town. They don't want a big home. They just want a place to shower and sleep and eat, you know? And I have a friend that's in the Bozeman and Missoula, Montana area, and they have a lot of studios, and I've walked through those places before. And so I imagine really fancy. That's kind of their vibe there, studio apartments. If you kind of morphed it more towards the needs here, I realized they don't need to be as fancy, but a good, clean, comfortable space is what they're looking for. So initially, I said, let's make this into studios. But then I started paying attention to more of who was coming through town. I was like, kind of seems there's a need for a hotel and studios. And so we started with half studios, half hotel. So
How many total rooms are there?
there's 42 doors total, plus an apartment for a manager. But every single one of those rooms was in pretty bad shape. So
And so when you first started, what was your day one mission with the hotel?
well, I really didn't know. We went and closed on it, and I was so excited. I'd been waiting on this for so long, and we went and closed on it, and I drove straight to the hotel. And I remember it was probably 10 o'clock at night before I got over there, and it was a little freaky just because I'd heard all the stories from everybody, and I was a little on edge. I remember the first night I was walking around the lobby taking a video of it, just documenting day one, and there was somebody hiding in the corner just playing on their phone, and I looked over there, and I probably jumped right out of my britches. It scared me to death just hearing all the stories about it. But I was like, I guess what we do is we just start throwing stuff away. That's what my mom would do. If my mom walked into a space, she'd just start filling the trash up. And so that's what I did. I went and bought some trash bags. I bought a candle from the dollar store, put it in there, and started throwing stuff away.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. And I've seen the improvements that you've made, those rooms. First, let's talk about that lobby and what all you did in that lobby. Because number one, when you walk in, it smells good. Number two, it looks fantastic. You walk in there, you're like, I can't believe this is an Olney. This is such a beautiful, welcoming space when you walk in.
Well, thank you.
And I know you didn't you bring in a designer, like an interior designer to help you?
Yep. A branch of the connections I have in Montana, they use a designer for all their properties. So their homes, their businesses, and probably once a year she'll go through their stuff and do a little refresher on it. And so I sent her pictures of the hotel, dimensions of everything, dimensions of the counter space, the windows, the doors. She wanted all the measurements. And then I kind of told her the aesthetics that I was after. I've always loved the Hill Country Hyatt down in San Antonio, and then also the Drover Hotel in Fort Worth. And so I wanted something similar to that fit the demand here. And she designed art, she picked out our color scheme and things like that. And she made this presentation for me with, here's a link to some lamps, here's some to some paint and things like that. And she really helped us get started and figure out what direction we start with the design itself. So again, it was overwhelming. So it was nice to have a starting point with, okay, here's our platform. We can go from here.
And to date, right now, how many rooms have you completely redone? And then what are your future plans for the hotel?
We just did about 10 hotel rooms to start off with. They were complete guts. They were more of a gut than I expected. We had to tear out the sheetrock because there would be mold in the walls. We had to remove the counters and all the flooring, all the electrical, all the plumbing. We got in there and it became a bigger project than we expected. So we just focused on 10 rooms. Phase 1 also consisted of the exterior of the lobby and then just repairs around the place. We had to do some landscaping and things like that to remove a bunch of debris. But then also what we did was we went through the rest of the building and just decluttered. That's the first step to maintaining a building that's safe and clean is you got to declutter. You got to get rid of everything you don't need. And so that's what we've done so far. We've also gone to a couple more spaces. We realized there's people that would just rather stay in an economy room. It doesn't have to be pretty. They just want it clean and safe. And so we did 2 or 3 of those rooms as well as went back on the long-term side of the rooms and made it comfortable for them.
So we talked a little earlier about what you're seeing in terms of traffic coming through the hotel. Who's staying there and what does that tell you about the economy here? Because you are also a chamber board member. So
I find what we started with, our remodel was done September 1 of 25. I was really excited when the remodel got done because I figured this place would just be flowing with people in and out. However, we still had a reputation that we had to clean up. And so the type of traffic that we've had has continued to morph and change as people hear that, hey, it is safe, it is clean. We started out with a lot of windmill workers. We got a lot of wind turbines in the area and in surrounding counties. A lot of the small communities around here also don't have places to stay. So we got a lot of those. We recently did a huge remodel in the hospital. And so that was probably the biggest crew that first came was the people that were working on the hospital. We redid our library. We did a lot of renovations on the school, so we were able to house all of them. The golf course is being remodeled and everything right now, but I think some of the sweetest stays that I would say that we've enjoyed is the families that have come back for their kids, grandkids' graduations.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were excited to stay. They were all very apprehensive, but graduation just happened last week. One family came in and they said they were going to stay. They had a lot of family that was still skeptical because they hadn't been here in a few years. They called their family and said, hey, this place is good. Y'all should come. So we filled up with graduation stays.
Wow.
That's awesome.
But we've also seen a lot of people that have come back for funerals to visit old friends and things like that. We've been able to host all of those as well. But also, too, another type of people that we've seen is the people moving to town. They want to come check out the economy. They want to check out the housing. And so we've been able to house all those people as well.
That is super cool.
And it's so important that they're staying in town and they're not going to the other bigger towns because that money stays right here in Olney. Like all that money is staying here. So that means they're shopping for groceries here. They're going to our stores. They're going to our restaurants. So all of those things. And without you doing that before, I seem to remember it being mostly people that just stayed there and they lived there. And it was just a way different environment over there before. And so now we have all that extra revenue that's staying right here in town. It's so important to us and to the chamber and to the town itself for that money to stay here.
So we've also been trying to figure out ways to make it more attractive. We try to listen to our clients. What do you like? What do you not like? And one thing that Young County doesn't have is all the hotels in Graham and those areas, they don't offer weekly and monthly rates. And so we want to make it affordable for these construction companies to stay here. And so the hotels in Graham, they have a pretty high nightly rate. So we've tried to keep our rates a little lower than that, but also give a huge break if they stay a month at a time. So that way these crews are able to come and work on the hospitals and get this town running without being strapped themselves. And that's been a huge draw as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will just driving through when you get into town, it's so beautiful. You've added the lights, you've done the paint, even just the parking lot. It's crazy. It's like a totally different building. And it makes you proud to call it, that makes you proud to call, that's the Windmill. And just the total rebrand has been just awesome for the town.
Super successful. Yeah. That is the first thing that you saw on the east side of town. And I know that from going to a lot of city council meetings and OEDC meetings, they were desperate to get that looking better.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
And so for the people who do come to visit, what is your website and maybe your social media? I know you've been really great about posting different updates on your social media.
So we have a Facebook page. You can visit that. We like to put different reviews on there, different updates, kind of give a glimpse of the rooms and what they can expect when they come. So the Facebook page, I kind of associate with the older generation. So you'll find me on Facebook more than TikTok and everything, but we're trying. And so we have a website. It's thewindmillolney.com. You can book through that. It also has some just different information on what to expect when you come, but that is an easy way to book directly in our website. If you like to call, there's a phone number on there. Our manager is available, and she's happy to chat and make sure you have what you need. We do offer pets and things like that. So if anybody has any questions on what exactly the accommodations look like, they can call or visit either one of those.
And one of my favorite things about you, Jake, is when you came to Olney, you completely immersed yourself in the community, as well as I went and spoke to you and you joined our Chamber of Commerce board. And you have just been vital to the board and to me personally, just really being right there to spearhead. We need to do this. You were so vital to our rebrand that we did for the Chamber of Commerce. You had great ideas and you're constantly helping the board and helping me. And so I just want to thank you for actually coming. And I think it really says a lot about you as a person that, and I've met so many people that are not from here that when we get here, we're like, this place is special and I'm going to immerse myself in it. And you've really shown what it means to be from out of town and to come here and you're not trying to change it, but you love Olney for how special it is. And you've really poured your heart and soul into the town. So thank you so much.
It's easy to do because, I think another thing for me was coming from such a large area, it's hard for a young man to get in the door.
Yes.
These positions are already filled. They have such high standards, and it's almost impossible financially and in every other way. For me, I don't have a lot of experience, but I was interested and I wanted to get involved. But it's hard to find your place in a huge area. And so everybody here was very welcoming, which I was worried because I was coming from out of town. I was new. But I came here for a reason because I love the community and I didn't want to change it. I moved here for that reason, but I wanted to be involved in continuing to look forward and everything. So the community has made it very easy and very welcoming to get involved. And that was just the start. And as I get more involved, we just establish deeper relationships with people and get closer to people. And everyone says, there's nothing to do out here. And I said, it's the people. It's the dinners that we have at night. It's the sitting around the campfires, it's worshiping on Sunday with these people, it's buying your groceries from somebody you sing with on Sunday mornings. That's why we're here. And when people say there's nothing to do here, I was like, you don't even know.
Yeah, you have no idea.
And that's where the community comes in, right? You meet people and you work on those relationships and getting to know people outside of, it's there if you're willing to just show up. And that's what you've done. So thank you so much. And yes, head on over to the Windmill Olney, windmillolney.com.
Yes, ma'am.
And please just be sure to check out their Facebook page. Go ahead and follow them. And we will be showing a link on our Facebook post this week. And thank you so much, Jake, for coming.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
See you around.
Okay.
This brings us to one of my favorite phrases since moving to Olney, Southern engineering. Now, if you're not from a small town, Southern engineering basically means solving problems with whatever resources you have on hand. Practical thinking, creativity, persistence, and maybe a little duct tape. And honestly, some of the smartest problem solving I've ever seen has happened in rural Texas. Olneyites have developed a lot of ingenuity for turning around problems that come from outside. This week's Southern engineering story involves a statewide issue that could have had huge unintended consequences for rural churches, camps, and communities.
Earlier this year, proposed state legislation alarms churches and camp operators across Texas who believed it could dramatically increase costs, create new liabilities, and potentially force many small rural camps out of operation. About 66 camps, most of them church affiliated, and all of them from rural communities, won't be opening their doors this year because of this legislation. One of the people helping organize opposition to that legislation was Dr. Chad Edgington of First Baptist Church of Olney, who is also an attorney.
Today, he's going to explain what the legislation would have done, why churches and camps were so concerned, and how rural communities organized the opposition, and also why these camps matter so much to thousands of Texas children and families. Chad, thank you for joining us.
You bet. I'm glad to talk about this issue.
Okay, so could you give us an overview of what the state was trying to accomplish and what they actually did?
Well, so one thing you don't want to minimize when you talk about this is the tragedy that took place, I guess, last summer.
Last July 4th.
Yeah.
July 4th, that's right. It was over the holiday weekend. So last July 4th, Camp Mystic tragedy. Everyone in the whole world was familiar with it. It's very emotional. And sometimes when an emotional issue makes it to the legislature, they act with great emotion. And what they were trying to do is admirable. And we want to always acknowledge, I'm on the camp board for Camp Chaparral, which is a local camp here in Iowa Park that our Baptist Association owns. And one thing when you are in leadership at a camp is your primary concern is camper safety.
Yeah.
You want everybody to have a good time. You want the children to have a spiritual retreat, to learn the gospel and to connect with the Lord. But you want to keep them safe. That's what everybody wants to do. So what the legislature was trying to do was something admirable. Was we never want something like Camp Mystic to happen again. So that was the driving force, and there was a lot of emotion behind it. And the 27 children who perished in that tragedy, their parents were heavily involved, as well as with other lobbyists and people who were working with them to bring this bill forward. And they call it the Camp Safety Act. Some call it the Heavens 27 bill. But what the legislation was trying to do was protect children. And so there were, some of the provisions in the law, really, you can tell they're like really aimed at Camp Mystic.
Yeah.
And so they don't really apply to camps that are in other situations
Right.
that don't have similar safety needs. So you wound up with a lot of provisions in the law that really raised the cost because, and I don't even fully understand where all these, where all the money would go. But for instance, we could talk about this as we discuss the financial impact, but just to give you an example, in the legislation, the camp fee, for your licensing fee, goes from $800 a year to $18,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So for camps that are already on a shoestring budget, $20,000 is a lot of money. And then you had to buy a PA system. I think we spent another $18,000 at our camp on a PA system that allows you to alert. The law requires you to have a way with one microphone to alert every camper in the entire camp, which you can tell why after whenever the flood was coming, if they could have warned everyone.
Yeah.
And so that's required for every single camp, no matter where it is, whether it's an urban setting or rural setting, you've got to have the PA system. That was another $18,000. So we've spent at the camp about $45,000 to comply with the law.
Wow.
But there was one element of the law that we could not comply with, and that was the end-to-end fiber optic requirement.
What does that mean exactly when it applies to a camp?
No one knows what that means. That's the thing. Like, nobody really knows what end-to-end fiber optic means, but it's in the law.
Oh, no.
So whenever we would talk with internet providers, and they would say, I don't really know if we can guarantee you that this is end-to-end fiber optic because that's not the way telecommunications work.
Right.
It's a network of all kinds of ways to deliver the internet. Some of it's over copper, some of it's over the DSL lines or whatever they have. I don't even know. And some of it's over fiber. And so they said, I don't know if we can tell you that this is going from one end to the other end, fiber optic. We don't even really know what that means. But they came out and told us that it would cost us about $160,000 to do it.
Oh my
What?
goodness.
And then, yeah, it's very expensive per foot to lay that stuff down. And that's why in a lot of rural areas, they don't have it.
Yeah, that's because it's rural and they didn't let y'all do the option of perhaps Starlink Wi-Fi or any other.
The law
they said it
said
had to be.
redundant internet
Oh my goodness.
One of them has to be end-to-end fiber optic, and the speeds were really high. So whenever the internet folks came out, the one provider that said they could put it down for $160,000,
Oh my God.
they said, but we can't get you those speeds.
Oh,
So it was
No.
impossible for our camp, complying with the law was actually technically not going to be possible.
oh my. When did you learn about all these rules?
It was interesting that they passed the legislation and then they didn't put the rules into effect. So I guess maybe in the summer, in the late fall, they were working on this.
Right.
They had a hearing where they invited camp directors to come, and they said, we're not going to be able to comply with this. This is going to change a lot. It's going to put some camps out of business. And it just didn't have any effect. So the law goes into effect, but the rulemaking wasn't really done till the first part of this year. So we find out, here's what the rules are, and then you need to be complying by March. And that was just, it was not going to be possible.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh.
That's not very short-sighted.
So it created a crisis for our camps.
So were you part of the 20 churches that?
The camp directors, yes, we are. We are part of the 20 churches that you're reading about in that lawsuit.
Yeah.
We're one
Tell
of,
us about that.
Okay, so the way this works is these camps have networks where they have associations where the camps come together and they talk about best practices and they help one another become the best camp they can be, or that's the idea. So they gather together. An association of camps will have a legal counsel.
Is this just for religious camps or church-affiliated camps, or is it all the camps?
It's several different kinds of associations.
Okay.
Some are just Texas camps.
Yeah.
Some are Baptist camps in Texas. So there's all sorts of camping networks. It's interesting, though, how Christian camping has been a thing that's been around for a long time. There used to be, back in the 1800s, they would have what they called camp meetings, where people would all, because you're in a rural area, you're on the frontier, and they would all leave their farms and they would come to town or they would build a brush arbor, and they would have a preacher come and they would just have a meeting after harvest. Maybe they would have a meeting for a couple of weeks, and they would just send the kids home every day. They would send them back to the farm to make sure the animals were okay, and they'd all come back for church. So that's where camp meetings got started.
Oh.
And you'll hear about those, like in the Second Great Awakening, the camp meetings, and it just was a tradition. And that kind of turned into a church camp. That's the way it evolved. So Christian camping has been around for a long time. I think the oldest Christian camp is actually in Luders, which is near Abilene. And people have been meeting out there for over 100 years. So
Wow.
It's got a long tradition. But then camping, just in general, these kind of retreats and camps become popular because I guess for some people it's a business, but it's also, they'll have sports camps and different space camp. There are all kinds of camps
Right.
that you hear about. In Texas, there are a lot of camps that do a lot of different things, some religious and some that are secular or aimed at other things, where children spend the night overnight in lots of different kinds of settings. But these guys all get together. So whenever these laws started coming out, they're talking on their message boards, and they're talking, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
And everybody, surely cooler heads will prevail. They're not going to put 300 camps out of business over fiber optic requirement.
Yeah.
So when the rules come out, the department, they don't want to rock any boats. What's the job of these departments of the state? To do what the legislature tells them to do.
Yeah.
And they just said, they made the law. We're going to enforce the law. We're not going to not do what the legislature told us to do. And we're not going to get in trouble for that. So figure it out.
And do these camps have licenses or anything that they have to keep
Yeah.
with the state? Like
You have
they
to get
would
a
lose
license.
their license.
You have to get a
in order
license
to-
every year. So if you don't have the fiber optic requirement, if you
Oh
don't
my
have the
gosh.
PA system, if you can't afford those things, the license that has gone up by thousands and thousands of dollars, then you don't get your license and you can't operate. Or if you do operate, would you send your kid to a camp without a license? Probably
No.
not.
No,
Even if you
No.
knew they were doing everything that they did last year and everything was fine,
no.
you would probably say, if y'all can't meet the licensing requirements, I'm not sending my kids. Let's go
Especially
get
if you don't know the story.
Go find another camp.
After Camp Mystic, I think it put a lot of fear in parents' hearts that we want to make sure if they're not getting their license, then I don't want to take the chance.
Yeah, I took
you
kids
know?
to camp in the middle of July last year after the Camp Mystic tragedy, and They were concerned, how close is that to the water? It was just something that everyone was doing.
Yes.
So, well, I can
Yes.
show you pictures. The cabins are very far from anywhere there would be water.
Yep.
So, yeah. So the licensing, if you don't get a license, you can't have camp, essentially.
Yeah, essentially.
So if you can't have camp, think about how a camp would operate. When's the only time you can really have camp? In the summer, when the kids are out of school, you got 8 weeks. And in those 8 weeks, these camps make all their money.
Yeah.
So their whole operating budget for the year comes down to maybe 8 camps.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then the timing of it's very crucial. And then they do off-season things, and you have other kinds of retreats and things. But when you're bringing in 400 or 500 kids, and they're all paying the camper fee of a couple $100, that's where catch up for the year. So you run a deficit till you hit May or June, and then the camps start to make money for those 8 weeks, and then they prepare for the next summer.
So you were started talking about the how you got together with everybody and you started
Oh, sure.
this.
Yeah,
So-
circle back to that.
Yeah, can you go back to that?
So these guys are talking and they're saying, golly, it's January. We've got to be ready by March. We got to have camp in June. And there were several camps that weren't going to be able to open. So thankfully, some of the larger camps that could meet all the requirements. So you've got camps for like everything else. You've got mega camps, so like other kinds of churches. But you got mega camps and you got
Right.
mom and pop camps.
Right.
You got some camps in Texas where they can accommodate 2,000 or 3,000 campers. And like Mount Lebanon, which is in Cedar Hill area, which is the Dallas Baptist camp, where I grew up going to that camp. And it's just a behemoth. It's huge, and they've got all the resources they need.
Yeah.
But then you have other camps that is just, and you can read about these camps that are having to close. It's just a family that owns a camp, and local people come to the camp. So thankfully, the larger camps spearheaded some of the lobbying and raising the issue. Like, okay, this is what's going to happen to these smaller camps. And that's a neat kind of brotherhood that those larger camps were worried about the smaller camps.
That is
And they
good.
said,
great.
we're fine, but we'll contribute to a legal fund
Wow.
to get this done. So the camps association, they have attorneys, and without getting into the weeds on that, one of the camp association attorneys said, if we can secure some funding for this lawsuit, we'll go ahead and file a lawsuit and we'll try to get an injunction where the state cannot enforce these laws. But that was the only way it was going to get done, because the department had to follow the legislature's rules. The legislature wasn't going to come back and have a special session for this.
Yeah.
So the only thing you really could do was file a lawsuit. And no Christian camps or any other camps want to go file a lawsuit
Yeah.
in a red state and take on it was a disaster. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. They say bad facts make bad laws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People say that. It's true. Because the intention is good, but you don't think necessarily through all the consequences. And then it was just, what is going to happen? And we just all kept thinking, surely
Yeah.
somebody's going to fix this. Somebody in power is going to fix this.
Right.
And conversations were happening at the highest levels of government. And everybody's saying, man, I don't know what we need to do. And so the answer just became, you need to file a lawsuit. You need to be prepared to go fight this in court and explain with a legal theory that, and so I think there's a couple legal theories that you could put out there on this. And that's how the camps kind of coalesced. And so so the religious camps have a pretty good argument. This infringes upon our religious expression. This infringes upon our free exercise of religion,
Right.
our worship.
Right.
And it's also just so short-sighted, as we've seen in so many instances where the legislature makes laws for the city, just assuming that
Oh, yeah.
that we have access to the same resources monetarily,
Yeah.
but also the same infrastructure. And they
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
passed like a $3 billion fund like 2 sessions ago so that we could get broadband here, but it's not here yet. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you forget about that part?
Yeah, well, that's where they weren't really thinking on that. And I'm not sure exactly. I've heard different things about how the fiber requirement got in there. That wasn't anything that the Heavens 27 parents wanted.
Yeah.
It was put in there by what I've heard, a rumor, and I don't know if it's true, but by one legislator who wanted to maybe kind of spur on the
Yeah.
movement of broadband to these different rural areas. Because when you think about camps, where are they going to be?
Yeah.
Most of them are
in the
going to be
middle of
out,
nowhere.
they're going to be in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere because that's the idea. You go when we take kids out there and they walk outside of the cabin at night and they'll look up and they'll, wow, you can see the Milky Way because there's no light out there. It's
Right.
because you're in the dark and there's bugs and all kinds of crazy things out there. And it's just like you're out in the country.
Yeah.
So there's not broadband out there.
No.
But you know what? You can get Starlink out there.
Yeah.
And you got DSL. You can get fast internet. You can get radio internet.
Yeah.
So
But
there's
they
lots.
could have done some sort of,
Any
in the
kind of-
case of if you're this many miles away from
Yeah.
access to,
Sure.
they could
Or
have
just-
easily, but I don't, that's
just
the thing
redundant internet.
yeah.
And I don't even know how internet's going to keep you that safe. You're just, unless someone, I think you could have a guy sitting down by the river with a weather radio, and he's probably going to keep you safer than anybody.
Because isn't that what happened with Camp Mystic was that the authorities who were supposed to be warning everybody about it did not.
I don't know. Yeah.
So
I've heard
it's not
so
like
much of it was about whether they were alerted to
they
the fact there was
weren't
an issue.
because of the
or that they were alerted and the camp, from what I've seen in articles, they said that the director, they would get notices like that all the time just because of the area they were in.
Yeah.
So they disregarded it. Because they got those warnings all the time.
Because
and
you're
that
never
time-
expecting like a once in 1,000-year weather
Right.
event to happen.
Yeah.
And when you see the water level,
And
40
I
feet or
know,
whatever it
it was
was,
crazy.
you can't even imagine
Yeah.
a catastrophe. It's like Noah's Ark kind of flood. You can't even imagine something like
Right.
that
Right.
happening. So that was, anyway, so we have a couple legal theories. Religious camps, you just would go in and you would say, you can't do this to us because we're a church.
right.
And the government usually would say, you're right. We can't pass a law that's going to infringe on your free religion of exercise, especially over broadband internet.
Yeah.
I thought that was a slam dunk. But what about all the baseball camps?
right.
What about the
Oh,
volleyball
yeah.
camps? What about the soccer camps? So what about space camp or whatever other kind of camp? There was another theory of takings, which comes from an old case called Penn Station. It was the idea that the government can pass a law that essentially takes your business away.
Yeah.
And that's not legal too. The government can't take it away without compensating you, but the government's just not allowed to shut you down over something that seems arbitrary without a really good reason. And so when you can certainly show that the means that the government was requiring, they weren't the least restrictive, they weren't going to accomplish, there were other ways to accomplish what they were trying to accomplish without broadband.
Right.
And so you can just show that so easily.
Yeah.
So that was your major legal argument that was put forward in the lawsuit that the 19 camps filed.
Okay.
And so that gets filed, and then a hearing gets set, and then we're ready to see what's going to happen. And people are calling, are we going to have camp this summer? Sure. And we just thought, surely, yes, we're going to have camp this summer. We were just kind of acting on faith there, but it was going to come down to a hearing. And just to give the rest of the story, eventually, just like most lawsuits do, there was a settlement.
Good.
So the attorney general, but it's interesting, there were conversations happening and the needle was not moving. And there was a PR push. A letter goes out to campers and friends of the camps, of churches that use the camps and clients that use the camps. A letter explaining the situation. Call your Congress or your representative and your senator, let them know. And that's what people did. And the next day there was a letter came out from Dan Patrick, the Speaker of the House, and they said, we think the camps need to be open. And the next day, after they did that letter, the Attorney General made an agreement with our lawyers. And so
That's
they were
great.
able to settle the case.
Okay, but what was
Well, they actually got a stay. So it's not really settled, but really we're going to be able to operate with our current license. And that license will remain good until 2027, which will be after the next legislative session, which hopefully when they come in and take a second look at all this, they can find accommodations, and like you were saying,
Yeah.
Kimberly, to make some different laws maybe for people in different situations or relax the broadband requirement. We've already spent a lot of money all the law that we could comply with, we did. And we're like, hey, we're happy to do it. That's going to make everything safer. It was just this one issue. The whole case turned on that broadband requirement for the fiber end to end.
Well, that seems totally solvable. Now, I want to read a little statement that I got from David Spiller, who is our House representative for Olney. He said he was pleased that a resolution, even if it's temporary, had been reached. And his quote was, "The goal was always safer camps, not closed camps. Rural Texas communities like ours shouldn't be penalized because fiber hasn't reached us yet. I'm appreciative that DSHS has found a workable path forward so families can move ahead with their summer plans. And I'll keep pushing for a long-term solution that works for all House District 68 camps next session." That's what he said. So we'll have to talk with him more about that. But can you just talk a little bit about the importance of these camps to communities like Olney?
Yeah, and so our association, it runs all the way from Childress down to the Possum Kingdom area, and the other association covers Wichita, Archer, and Clay counties. And this we own a camp. It used to be in Vernon for many years. In 1972, it moves to Iowa Park. The current Vernon golf course used to be the camp, and so they moved to Iowa Park in 72, and our kids love it. So many people have grown up going to camp there. It's like their summer memories are all tied into that, being in that hot, sweaty camp. Melissa wrote an article that'll be in the paper where she said, "I have memories of standing at the snack shack, holding all these kids' sweaty money in my pocket
Yeah.
till they needed it, because if you give them their own money, they either spend it all or they lose it." And so it's just one of those things where the parents show up to take their kids to church camp and they say, "Oh, I remember when I went to Chaparral."
Yeah.
And it's not something that I would say, it's not something that necessarily provides a lot of jobs, but it does provide summer employment for a lot of young people. And so a lot of places, the first place they ever worked is out there at Camp Chaparral. But for us, from a spiritual standpoint, a lot of people will say, "When I was a kid, I went out there and I met God." And so that's where they had their encounter with the Lord and they gave their life to Christ. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So if you think about places, some places are special.
Yeah.
And you'll hear people talk about thin places where heaven and earth kind of touch.
Yeah.
And I think those kind of camps are places like that where there's almost a sense of reverence out there, but it's the place we go to really commune with the Lord. And
That's the same place for the walk to Emmaus, right?
I think they do those
Camp
out
Chaparral,
there.
yes.
They'll do all kinds of things out there. Yeah.
Out there. It's true. It's a
Yeah.
thin.
Yeah. It's a thin place. It's one of the,
It's amazing.
it's one of those, where there's a lot of sentimentality
Yeah.
attached to it, because it's a place where you've gathered, where you've had different experiences. And so I think when you kind of add in the heart connection that people have to a place, and places can be important. I sometimes talk about the idea that there's a theology of geography.
Yeah.
When you look in the Bible, it's interesting that there's just places mentioned. You could say certain words like Bethlehem or Jerusalem and Shiloh. There's just places that seem to be important, and we can be connected. Somehow human beings have a strange ability to be connected to certain places.
Yeah.
Land, ranches, whatever it is, church, so even certain buildings,
Yeah.
we can find ourselves emotionally attached to it. So it's just one of those places out here that's a special place for thousands of people.
Right. And there's nowhere else you can have that experience except summer camp.
Yeah, because summer camp.
Yeah.
You get to get out of your place that you are, out of your life for a little bit, meet other kids, do something else.
Yeah,
I mean,
think about it now, how necessary it is now.
Yeah.
Because these kids are it's an interesting thing because you get them out there, and for the first day, they're going through withdrawals, right?
Yeah.
They're shaking. They're
Yeah.
like, "Where's my phone? Where's my tablet?" And the adults are doing it too. And you're just trying to think, wow, and there's one camp we go to in the summer way out in West Texas where there's no cell phone coverage. And so that's another an issue where, people go through withdrawal. But the kids, after just a little bit of time, a few days, or maybe even a few hours, they're just actually face to face, and they're just zoned in on the people they're with, not the outside world. So it's such a different change of pace from the rest of their life. And when you do that, it always gives you a kind of an interesting perspective on what should I change when I go back?
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's more so for the teenagers, I think,
Yeah.
than for the little ones. They just love to get out there and swim and play in the lake and do the ropes course. For our kids, the zip line is always like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
So I think these are very important places. I think that Camp Chaparral, I think it's important to the community. Just this past year, they raised about $300,000 in grants. Some of them they didn't even apply for,
Wow.
to build a new maintenance barn and shed. And we just kind of look at it like, hey, the community believes in this place
Yeah.
to fund it and support it. And so it's an important place. And so that's kind of what's the importance of it. For some people, is the difference between heaven and hell, right? It's an important place, spiritually speaking, where people have been saved. And when the idea of that closing down is just almost unthinkable.
It is. And
But let's also talk about just the access issue. People in rural communities cannot drive forever to Dallas or whatever to go to a camp. We don't have the resources. You have First Baptist and churches around here have fundraisers.
We have big fundraisers to get kids to
get
camp.
our kids to be able to
Yeah,
go.
so think of the smaller camps, like Chaparral's a smaller camp. The
Right.
camps that can't get broadband are the ones that probably serve the people who aren't going to be able to go to a New Mexico camp in the mountains.
Right.
We're talking camps now. The sports camps can run thousands of dollars.
yeah.
The church camps, the big ones, will run $300-400, somewhere between there. I think they try to keep them under $400. That's a lot of money
Yeah.
for a lot of families. When we have a camp that's at the $200 mark, that's much more affordable, and helps us raise money, or it's easier for us to send more kids on less money. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So when we do a fundraiser and know we can go to Chaparral, we can take more kids with us and lower that price point, where if we can fundraise, maybe the families can kick in 100 and we can kick in the rest.
Right.
And then try to help those with multiple kids a little bit more, because a lot of kids, that's what they get to do in the summer.
Yep.
That's their thing. I get to go to camp, and that's their vacation, especially if they're let's face it, we live in an economically depressed county
Yep.
with a low population. You will often talk to children here who've never been out of the state.
Yes.
I'm always surprised when I'll talk to a child and I'll say, well, you ever flown an airplane? Like, trying to just talk to them about something.
yeah.
I've never been on an airplane. I've never been out of the state. There have been some kids we've taken places. This is the furthest they've ever been from home.
Yeah.
And we're not even going very far. We're going to Six Flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to people at the high school who say that there are families who don't have transportation to get anywhere. So
Yeah.
it's big for them to go to Graham or something like that because they don't have cars, they don't have insurance. That's the level of poverty that we're talking
Yeah, it's a
about.
remarkable thing. And those of us that have, what I love about it for our kids that are in school is they get to interact with all kinds of kids.
Yeah.
And they don't see that. They don't see those distinctions. you know?
No, I know.
And they
That's
don't
what-
realize until they're way older.
Yeah, that's what's great about this community
yeah.
is that means so little.
Yeah,
You know,
doesn't matter
how-
what color you are, doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're funny, I like you.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
we're all in this together.
Yeah.
That's the attitude that I love about this place.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah, Brooklyn. It was Brooklyn's
she's
first
taking us.
year.
She gone up there with us, right?
Yeah, she went. It was her first year last year, and I will just say, it taught her independence to be away from
Oh yeah.
moms for a week. Also learning how to budget by knowing you only have this much money to go to the snack
We
shack.
tell them that you've got $15, so
You need-
you better spread
need
it.
to- yeah,
and everything
spread it,
costs like
yes.
$1. So you got to say now. If you think about how
Yes.
you're going to do it, because there'll always be
Yeah.
one kid that just goes to snack shop the first day and he spends all his money, buys all his friends' stuff, and then he's borrowing the rest of the week.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And even just the friendships I think that she's forming, as well as that solid foundation in Christ, and just her learning those things that she goes to church, she goes to Teen Kid, but it's just different. It's a different environment, and to have those. I
Yeah,
know
that's
I'm
a good
still friends
point.
with kids from that I went to camp with when I was in elementary school. And we're still friends to this day. And I think when he formed those relationships at such an early age, even when you get older and you're like changing, you still have somebody that knows who you were before the change.
Yeah, what would you call it? It's like a very controlled independence.
Yes.
Because we make them go with buddy system, and you still have to tell them to put on their sunscreen. You're always coaching them, but it's the first time a lot of them are away from mom, like overnight. They're all scared.
Yeah.
And then you have to tell them, okay, now you got to remember to take your towel to the shower and your soap. And y'all are going to have to brush your teeth. And, and then they pick up. It's a fun thing. I've gone as a counselor for 13 years. So I have seen a bunch of children pass through. They probably just think we get older, but he never changes. But it's really it's a neat thing, and you'd hate to lose it by regular.
People need to think about what it's like to live out here.
That's true.
And I feel like that's kind of why we're doing this show, is so that people will know what we're facing and what it's like to live here, all the good stuff and all the bad stuff. Okay, anything else that when you go back next spring to relitigate this? I don't know if you're literally going to litigate it. What are you asking for?
Yeah, hopefully it will just be dismissed because it doesn't matter anymore. I think the legislature is going to, when they come back in session, so we'll have a session between now and when the stay ends. And I think that this will be a priority. I think that they've seen how they've nearly shut down at least 20 camps that we know of. And the cool thing about the agreement that the Attorney General made with this group is they said this stay only, and part of the stay, they just said if you have redundant internet, you can have your camp license from last year. But everything else you got to comply with. Everything's going to be safe. But what they said, only those 19 camps.
Only the 19?
But anybody can join the lawsuit until June 1st. So they just said if you're stuck here and you were late to the party, you could still come to the party. And so the great thing is that the camps, because they had a broader coalition of the secular camps and the religious camps, because religious camps are poor, but the baseball camps have money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and think about sports. It's the idol of the age, right? So they've got all the money. But the way the funding worked, everybody gave what they could. I think our camp did $500 toward it. And they've just said anybody can join, and they're not going to charge anybody to be a part of it. So it's, it's totally worked out. The funds were there. Everything was provided. It's unfortunate, though, that you had to have all this money spent in a lawsuit over something that really could have been prevented with a little bit of forethought. And the camp directors were shouting it from the rooftops. This is going to put us out of business. Then you say, well, how would it put you out of business? For our camp, we've got some debt. There's a bank note that has to be paid every month. And for many camps are like that. They live like most Americans live, paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
If you lose that camping season, COVID, if it hadn't been for PPP, would have put us out. Because we had to miss a year of camp for COVID. But thankfully, we were able to hang on and just on the thinnest of margins survive.
I bet most camps are that way. I went to a camp in Wisconsin when I was a kid, and it was a family-run camp. And they had everything, all the sports and everything. But I know that it was very thin. They did it for love.
Oh, yeah. No one's making any money at the church camps.
Right.
Nobody is. But we think it's important. It's an old tradition of Christian camping or Christian retreating, whatever you call it. But I would say that the thing to me, if I was just going to put a bow on it, that I found to be the most remarkable thing about the whole process was that we had petitions and we had conversations and we had all the important people in the room talking. But what really seemed to make the difference was when you told the people.
Yes.
And the people, I sent it out, and I made a joke yesterday. I was in a denominational meeting, and I said, when the church ladies found out about it.
Yes. That telephone tree.
When I sent out the letter to our church, I sent it through a text message, and you could click a link and you could read the letter. And I just said, hey, be aware of this. This is what's going on. And I had several women. I'm calling tomorrow.
Oh,
I'm calling my
good.
representative tomorrow. And I just said, those church ladies got after it, and they got the problem solved.
Yeah, they
The
did.
next day, Dan Patrick and the speaker are saying, well, we need to fix this for the summer. We don't want to close down camps because it's a terrible look. You're in a red state. They don't persecute religion in a red state, right?
Exactly.
Like you would think that. So it's just a bad look. And then for all the other camps, these are important parts of our childhood. I think Kim really said it. This was our Brooklyn's kind of first foray into doing things on our own.
Yeah.
And then, you get kids into a setting where they can reflect.
Yes.
And away from they're just constantly bombarded with things that aren't true.
Yes.
They're looking at Instagram all day and feeling like they're not pretty enough. And it's good to go out to a camp where everybody's hot and sweaty and nobody's pretty.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
start to realize what matters is the heart.
Yeah.
And if we've got places like that can remind kids about what life's really about,
Yeah,
I think you do whatever you can to keep them.
I agree.
So I appreciate the fact that when people found out this is in danger,
Yeah.
they rose up and they said, fix it, guys,
Yeah.
gals, whoever's in charge. And then I think I don't know if it's a commitment, but I think the general sense is that we weren't going to call a special session over this, but don't worry, we're going to make this right.
Good. Yes. And that's a lesson to all of us on a lot of issues. So,
Power in numbers.
yep,
Just show up.
exactly.
You've got to let your voice be heard.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you so much, Chad.
for
Yeah, thank y'all.
explaining this to us. And thanks for all of what you did to preserve this experience for kids.
And just next time we have a fundraiser, come eat chicken spaghetti.
Or
Oh, fish. We had a good
That's
fish.
right. That fish fry was pretty awesome. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about what's happening around town this week.
Yes, we have the last part in our 4-part series, Music in May, Saturday with Gabe Cho at the Tom Griffin Park. It starts at 6 p.m. He is pretty well known. I know he has a couple songs on the radio right now. So bring your chairs, come on out. It's been a really awesome thing. And please just come out and show up, because if we can show that there's a need, we can keep doing these.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to do it again next year. I think that people have really taken to it. We also had the Chambers Mix and Mingle on May 21st at Archery Gun from 6 to 8 p.m.
Yay.
We'll have wine and some appetizers from Hudson's on Main.
Ooh.
Yeah, so they always do a really great job. That same day, we'll also have another class in our Small Business Academy. This is about business funding and writing a business plan. So this is really important. If you haven't attended, it doesn't matter. If all the other ones were like, well, it's a little bit too much, a little bit more advanced. Well, this is the class for you. So come on out to the Olney Civic Center at 5:30 p.m.
Oh, man, I wish I could go to that. I'm going to be out of town, but that would have been one for me. I would love learning about that. Okay, so early voting continues this week for the primary runoff election ahead of Election Day on May 26th. So we got Thursday and Friday for early voting at the Civic Center from 7 to 7. And then Election Day will be on that following Tuesday, also at the Civic Center here in Olney. And there will be several other places that you can vote. That's on page 2 of the Olney Enterprise. Senior Center continues its wonderful selection of events and classes. You got chair yoga, bingo, community game days. All that continues at the Senior Cub Center this week. And I am going to be teaching a writing workshop on June 2nd. And then everybody's going to bring their writing back on June 16th at the Senior Center. It's one of my favorite things to do because we have so many good storytellers in this town.
Yes, I can't wait to come to that. I would really love, I can tell a story, but writing it is a little bit different. So I'd love to learn some different tips and tricks from you.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's such a wonderful thing to do, to share your stories. Everybody has a storyteller in them. It's just kind of like giving people confidence to tell what they have to say.
All right. And it's Vacation Bible School time of year. Southside Baptist Church let us know that they will hold their VBS What a Mess from June 8th through 11th. from 6 to 8:10 p.m. And parents, be warned, your kids will get messy. It's open to kinder through 6th grade, so if you want to register, just show up day of on June 8th at 5:30 p.m. and let get you all taken care of.
That's right. And there are other summertime activities that are starting to ramp up here in town. The Refuge is starting its summer feeding program on June 1st through July 24th, and its summer camp programs on June 8th through July 31st. They're offering sensory camp for littles.
Yes, yeah, I'm really excited for that. My 4-year-old, he has always missed out on being able to go to the camps. He was never old enough, so I'm so excited they're opening that up for him. They
Yeah.
also have the art and cooking classes and Christmas in July. It's so much fun. My kids come home with their art masterpieces. And after my daughter did the cooking class last year, she's actually learned how to cook multiple things, of course, with me supervising, but
Right.
she really got the interest to cook, which was really, really cool to see. And I thank the Refuge for that.
Oh, that is so awesome. Okay, so head to their Facebook page or call 940-564-4673 to sign up.
The summer feeding program runs each weekday. It starts June 1st and runs through July 24th. The summer meal program continues to provide free meals, healthy meals for children and teens age 18 and younger, and enrolled students with disabilities up to 21 years old. They also offer transportation for that program, so I think that there's a little waiver you have to sign, but if that is a need for you and you want them to enjoy that meal, but you can't really get them there, then just go to reach out to the Refuge and they'll be able to come pick up your kiddos.
That is so fantastic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to give a little sunshine to something that's not in Olney, but it's pretty cool, and a lot of people from Olney go there. So just reminding people that the Food Truck Championship of Texas 2026 takes place in Graham on June 6th. And I tell myself every year I'm going to do it, and I forget it. Will goes to it all the time, don't you? Yeah. So anyway, in addition to 50 plus food trucks, there will be a free concert on the largest town square in America by Tyler Halverson, an outdoor art walk, children's activities, and the Possum Pedal bike ride.
Yes, I will be intermittent fasting leading up to that point just so I can enjoy it to the fullest.
I know, man. It's like, why can't it be for a whole week and then you can go back and try all of them?
Oh my gosh, it's so good, and that dance floor is really fun. I mean, they play some really good music down there. So
Oh, that sounds
yeah,
so
it's
fun.
awesome.
I'm totally doing it this year.
yeah. Well, that's episode 2 of Olney On Air. Thank you for joining us as we continue highlighting the people, businesses, nonprofits, schools, and issues shaping life here in Olney, Texas.
If you have ideas for stories, guests, community events, or topics we should cover, contact us through the Olney Enterprise newspaper or message us on Facebook and Instagram.
And if you haven't already, pick up this week's Olney Enterprise on newsstands around town or online at olneyenterprise.com. I'm Kimberly Smith.
And I'm Gina Keating. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on Olney On Air.